and our trainers are getting ready to go on stage, Ben. And we have so much more information to share with you all about how this matchup will unfold.
Absolutely. Look at there. We have our trainers up and our achievements up as well. Make some noise for our trainers.
Ismael, Ogi, Fabian, Musicant, the accomplishments speak for themselves. Calyrex Shadow Rider and Galarian Wheezing alongside so many other notable partners there for Fabian. Worth noting that Fabian won't have access to their Indeedee in this matchup, but reach this stage of the competition with just those 5.
Absolutely. You know that they're absolutely worthy of being able to play this matchup. Doesn't matter so much how many trainers, but look, we're getting even closer to being able to crown our champion here in London EUIC.
We see you, trainers. Now, this will be a rematch of our 2025 Stuttgart final just a couple of months ago. Ismael came out on top there, but is Fabian going to be able to flip the script?
He certainly could be able to. Let's take a deeper dive into what Ismael is using this time round. Calyrex Ice Rider, Amoonguss Torkoal, Smeargle, Indeedee Female, and Iron Crown.
Wanting to go slow and steady to win the race here, setting up the Trick Room perhaps. Going with that Smeargle, it doesn't have access to any damaging moves other than Fake Out, providing a nuisance to some of the tools over on Fabian's side of the field.
But definitely has a lot of tools that help him set up that Trick Room. Wide Guard and Follow Me, the choice for this Smeargle to be able to either redirect attacks away from Calyrex or Wide Guard against those spread attacks that are very good against Follow Me. Of course, there's another other two redirectors in Amoonguss and Indeedee, but also if you want to go a little bit speedier, you have that Indeedee and Iron Crown combination. Now, we know that Ismael is not going to be able to, unfortunately, use their Indeedee in this match, so that's
Fabian. This Indeedee is absolutely fine.
Is in. Absolutely. So yeah, he's going to be able to go a little bit faster on the offensive if he chooses to go for that.
Clash of the Titans here, trainers. As we said, Ismael, our 2025 LAIC Junior Champion, and Fabian, 2024 LAIC Junior Champion too. It's going to be an absolutely thrilling matchup.
Let's have a little bit of a look at what Fabian is going to be running. And here it is, Calyrex Shadow Rider. So we have a 2-horse race here. Galarian Wheezing, Roaring Moon, Urshifu Rapid Strike style with the Focus Sash and the Terra Stella and the Taunt as well. That could be big in this matchup. Indeedee Female that's not going to be making an appearance, and Iron Hands.
Iron Hands, that is running the Wild Charge here. That's not a move that we commonly see on Iron Hands, but it's going to be big damage. That electric type on the Pokémon, bolstering the power of the Wild Charge move. Now, Galarian Wheezing, neutralizing gas, shutting off the abilities of all Pokémon on the field. If Fabian can pivot that in at the right opportunity, it could provide that all-important opening. Ismael wanting to go for that slow and steady race. Fabian wanting to flip the switch.
And this is the battle between a slow and fast, and that's really something that comes down to all of those support options that Ismael has to be able to set up the Trick Room, and Fabian's going to have to find a way through and get things going a little bit speedier. But Charlie, it looks like we're getting into our first match.
Ismael versus Fabian, everybody, our VG Junior Finals, Game 1. It's the horsemen staring each other down. Indeedee against the Urshifu Rapid Strike.
Calyrex Ice Rider, Calyrex Shadow Rider. Now, Calyrex Ice Rider is not going to be wanting to take a super effective Astral Barrage, certainly not on turn 1. And of course, there's no Wide Guard here on the field to be able to block it. So it's Ismael probably wanting to think about using their Terra option on the Calyrex just to guarantee that they're going to be able to get into Trick Room. Once they're in that Trick Room environment, then they can go on the offensive, use those big, powerful Glacial Lances, and put Fabian really under a lot of pressure.
But if you terrestrialize into your Fire type with the Calyrex Ice Rider here, you're making yourself weak to the Urshifu Rapid Strike over on Fabian's side. Decisions.
It is, but I think it's going to be worth it because you really do want that Trick Room environment if you are Ismael. And here we are, our first terrestrialization of the game. It is that Terra Stella, and it is that Urshifu.
Urshifu, Terra Stella, bolstering the power of each individual move it has for just the once. One water type boost, one fighting type boost. The responding sparkles over on on Ismael's side of the field. Calyrex Ice Rider, it is going to have that chandelier atop its crown.
Terra Fire and not going to take super effective damage anymore from the Calyrex Shadow Rider, but as you rightly pointed out, Charlie, Surging Strikes would be a big risk in this situation. Follow Me is going to redirect this turn, and it is going to be an expanding force coming out, not resisted anymore by this Calyrex Shadow. What a read there for Fabian.
And it's going to be the Surging Strikes coming out from Urshifu Rapid Strike, redirected into the Indeedee here. There's no Rocky Helmet, no recoil damage. With this third Surging Strike, Indeedee, you're out.
And that gives Ismael a little bit of a positive momentum swing. You've definitely got to knock out the Indeedee in this position because it's stopping you from being able to get any damage off onto the Calyrex. But there it is, Calyrex twisting those dimensions.
Torkoal and Amoonguss lurking in the back here. And it's going to be the Torkoal joining the field in the face of this Terra Stellar Urshifu and the Calyrex. Now, Torkoal, by far the slowest thing here and exerting so much pressure.
Eruption going to be doing more damage the more HP that Torkoal has, but Fabian knows that he's got to get through this Trick Room as quickly as possible. That's why there's this double protect going off, just wasting a turn of Trick Room. Eruption coming out from the Torkoal, but bouncing off those protect shields, and of course Calyrex going to be able to follow up in just a moment, but no damage going to be coming out from it whatsoever.
The more successive turns you use Protect, the more likely Protect is to fail. This is unlikely to be an option Fabian has on successive turns. He's either going to have to risk taking big damage from this Choice Specs Torkoal in the sun, or have to switch something out. At least you've got the Urshifu resisting Fire-type moves.
And Ice-type moves as well. That could be really big here. You definitely don't want to lose your Calyrex, especially with the power of that expanding force and the Psychic Surge that the Indeedee set up
Here
before.
it is.
Galarian Weezing, though, switching off all of those abilities except for Calyrex's.
The sun and the terrain, though, already on the field. The Weezing is coming into a massive blow.
Big one here, knockout.
Urshifu is brought right down to its focus sash.
And it's going to be a follow-up move from the Calyrex here. Any attack whatsoever, as long as it connects on this Urshifu, will give it a Chilling Neigh boost.
Chilling Neigh bolstering the physical attack of this Calyrex. It might be a Terrifier trainers, but it's going to be snowballing.
And it's going to be getting that easy KO there on the Urshifu. That is the Terra option down there for Fabian. Ismael putting themselves on the front foot here. They're looking really, really strong to be able to take this game. But of course, there are two Pokemon still in the back for Fabian, and we're going to be seeing what they are. Calyrex, the first one.
And the second, Iron Hand joining the field. Front foot or front hoof bend on either side of the field, either would apply. The Iron Hands ordinarily coming in, threatening that fake out pressure, but the Psychic Terrain on the field blocking that. So the fact that the Torkoal can't protect doesn't matter here.
And Torkoal still at full HP. That means the Eruption is going to be doing maximum damage. Now the Chilling Neigh boost has come out. Calyrex is able to protect itself, but Iron Hands is susceptible to an attack. First, we're going to see the Eruption. This is how these Trick Room teams really like to operate, getting as much damage while you're in Trick Room as possible.
And it's massive into the Iron Hands. That Pokemon cannot protect. It's holding the Assault Vest. There's the Wild Charge, but the Calyrex Ice Rider hanging on. This is an absolutely huge turn for Ismael here. High horsepower connecting into the Iron Hands. That is down as well.
It's another Chilling Neigh boost for this Calyrex. It's going up to 2 stages of increased special attack, effectively doubling its damage here. Now this Calyrex is staring down a Calyrex and a Torkoal. Both of them are able to attack, but we're still in Trick Room, so this Calyrex is not going to have to try to get another
protect there. It's able to stall out the Trick Room at the end of this turn. The speed orders are going to be reversed back into the Calyrex Shadow Rider's favor. It's going to be the fastest thing on the field, but does it have enough gas in the tank? Has this horse been fed well enough in order to withstand the onslaught Ismael is providing?
This is the window in the game that Fabian really needed, because he was able to get through that Trick Room. Now, the terrain has left the field. There is no Indeedee left to reset it up, so the expanding force is only going to be single target now, but what is going to hit both of these Pokemon is a big Astral Barrage. If this Calyrex on Fabian's side gets some boost, gets to steamroll, it's going to do what Calyrex on Ismael's side was trying to do all the way through Trick Room.
Here comes that shiny Amoonguss. A big Astral Barrage boosted by the Lightfall, connecting down into Ismael's side of the field. The Amoonguss takes it.
Big KO there for the Calyrex, and Calyrex on Fabian's side is getting its special attack boosted from that Grimnay ability. Amoonguss taking more than 50% damage from that Astral Barrage on the switch-in. Now this choice specs Torkoal is the only option that Ismael can bring in, but at one stages of increased special attack, it's looking like Astral Barrage is probably going to be able to take this.
Torkoal has much higher physical defense than special defense, and as you say, Ben, at +1, this could have been the tables entirely flipped for Fabian, just like that switch Fabian was trying to switch with that neutralizing gas coming in. Ismael has done so well. Are his Pokemon going to be able to hang on? Here comes the next Astral Barrage, clattering down into Torkoal and Amoonguss. It's a double KO!
Fabian taking that game when all looked like it was lost, taking him one step closer to taking this finals here. And it's all going to come down to these calls, these reads, trying to find as many outs as you can all the way through. Fabian has a little bit of an uphill battle, but he's just proved that he can do it.
I cannot emphasize enough how crucial that double protect was coming out from Fabian's Calyrex Shadow Rider. Had that not gone off, it's oh so vulnerable to any attack of Ismael's choosing, and Ismael emerges as the victor. Again, protect gets less likely the more successive turns that you use it, so a roll in Fabian's favor, but is game 2 gonna go their way as well?
It certainly could. We'll have to see how these trainers adapt, and let's have a little bit of a think about that, because Ismael looked so confident in that early game. There was the Indeedee redirecting all of the attacks. The Calyrex went for its terror. It was able to get that Trick Room up, and look at this damage that came out from the eruption. Turn after turn after turn, but it was that double protect that allowed Fabian another chance in this match to be able to get that big Astral Barrage double KO.
Such a powerful move and 100% accurate. A rare treat here in the competitive video game, and absolutely fascinating matchups between these trainers. Ben, we're approaching game 2. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that Ismael did everything right in that situation to just put themselves on the front foot. They were able to get the Trick Room up. They were able to go for those big attacks. We'll have to see how the leads match up as we get into game 2. It is the same leads as before for Fabian, but Ismael changing things up.
It's going to be Smeargle and Calyrex Ice Rider. Now, crucially, this Smeargle has access to the move Wide Guard. That is going to block any spread moves over onto Ismael's side of the field. I'm looking at you, Astral Barrage. That is no longer such a successful option for Fabian.
Not just that, you don't get the expanding force set up because Ismael's not bringing their Indeedee to the game. It's going to be straight up a switch there coming out from Fabian, getting the Iron Hands up. There is no psychic terrain, therefore this fake out is going to be oh so more effective.
It's active, and so is Terastallization. Time once more for Ismael to Terastallize their Calyrex Ice Rider into the Fire type. Calyrex Fire Rider has hit the field trainers, and it's going to be blazing its trail, hopefully through to a game 3. Fake out right down into the Urshifu Rapid Strike. It's not going to be able to move this turn, and there goes that Trick Room.
And Calyrex didn't have to take any damage because the Calyrex Shadow Rider was switched out from Fabian. So just making sure that the Trick Room was set up regardless of what happened. Get a fake out onto the Urshifu, go for the Terrafire, make sure you're not taking super effective damage from that Astral Barrage.
Seems like a switch coming out from Ismael. Fabian's head in their hands. Is this something that Fabian did not call correctly? The Amoonguss hitting at the field in Trick Room. That is going to be so threatening, shutting down Fabian's teams with spores. If you're asleep, you cannot act.
It's a Galarian Wheezing coming in for Fabian now, and we're going to see whether or not that Amoonguss is going to be taking a Surging Strikes here, because the Rocky Helmet that it's holding would do lots and lots of recoil damage, but not only that, would waste that Stellar Terror boost.
Yeah, there's Stellar Terror, and if it goes right into that, Amoonguss is going to be sponging up those hits oh so well. But of course, Smeargle having access to the Spore as well, it puts the Galarian Wheezing to sleep. It's not going to be able to happen. The neutralizing gas still on the field. Here comes the Surging Tries targeting into the Amoonguss is going to head right into that slot and deal huge recoil damage in return.
I love this. These juniors are playing so well. They're predicting each other at every stage of the game. And usually these trick room battles, they tend to be a bit more fast, a bit more explosive like we saw in game 1. But these trainers showing us that they've got so much more range than that. They can take it a little bit slower. They can go for the, Ismael can go for the Spore on Smeagol, slow things down, maybe get a second trick room later on, and then the explosive damage comes out.
Fabian's team is so vulnerable to these spores. How is Fabian going to be able to weather this storm? There is an out here for Fabian. If your Pokemon get lucky and they wake up after that first mandatory turn of sleep, potentially there's a way back in. But with Weezing off the field, neutralizing gas has gone, the abilities are back online, and here is this Calyrex Shadow Rider.
Yeah, you don't want to leave the Weezing in not doing anything. You want to be able to get your board set up if you're Fabian. But now the Smeagol switching out, not wanting to stay in, and of course Ismael has the same idea. They need to get things moving with that Calyrex coming back.
Calyrex Ice Rider in the Trick Room conditions, exactly the stable it likes to be a part of. It's going to be Urshifu going for the Protect. Does not want to be put to sleep. Where did Ismael target here? It was down into that Urshifu. So the Calyrex slightly safer, but then the next turn too, Trick Room will still be on the field.
Yeah, but not for very much longer. And I think Fabian's doing a fabulous job of being able to just wait out that Trick Room as much as possible. You want to have that Calyrex in play just when the Trick Room expires. If you can sort of weave in a quick nasty plot as well on the way through, then maybe or a little bit of a way to boost yourself up with a cheeky Astral Barrage potentially, then you're putting yourself in a good position when Trick Room expires. But that is what the name of the game is here. This Urshifu as well, let's not forget, is getting closer and closer to waking up.
Cheeky Astral Barrages are my favorite kind of Astral Barrage, Ben, but it's going to be the Spore targeting right down into the Urshifu. Rapid Strike now. It was protecting on the previous turn, far more vulnerable to that here. The Glacial Lance will be connecting into that slot as well. One advantage for Fabian here is that you're going to burn that mandatory turn of sleep. Right now, the Urshifu going faster under normal conditions, therefore last in this Trick Room.
And this is the last turn of Trick Room as well, so where we saw a double protect last turn, maybe Fabian needs to find a way to play a little bit more consistently in this time. But if you do switch out your Calyrex maybe into the Weezing to block another Spore, then you're just going to take that little bit of damage. Of course, Calyrex could be able to knock out the Urshifu if the Urshifu stays asleep, so Fabian's going to have to be really careful here, and Ismael is definitely on the offensive.
Galarian Weezing rejoins the field. It might be asleep, but the neutralizing gas has come right back in with it. The sleep is not inhibiting that ability. Spore coming right out into the Urshifu, which is already asleep, just to cover for a wake up and something like an Aqua Jet. That Glacial Lance going to be enough to secure the knockdown to Urshifu, and it's huge damage into the Galarian Weezing, and Calyrex Ice Rider going to be getting a Chilling Neigh boost.
But this is the way that Fabian gets the Calyrex Shadow Rider back in play at the end of Trick Room. There it is. The dimensions have now returned to normal. Now, we saw before that this Calyrex was able to do more than 50% damage to the Amoonguss with an Astral Barrage, but it also has access to that Expanding Force that we saw in Game 1. And Expanding Force, while not boosted by the Psychic Terrain, wouldn't be a spread target move either. It looks like this Amoonguss could be in range of that attack as well.
Yeah, it's not just the Astral Barrage that's threatening down on the field here. You have the Smeagol lurking in the back if you're Ismael. Timing when to click Wide Guard could be crucial too. Neutralizing gas once more off the field, and a turn of sleep burned at least for that Galarian Weezing. Iron Hand is coming in fresh face and awake.
Oh,
Here comes a big Astral Barrage. Is it going to be enough to secure either knockout here? No!
Amoonguss hanging on!
Amoonguss hangs on with 9 HP.
Look at that, getting a Spore off onto this Calyrex and allowing Calyrex on Ismael's side to maybe go for a Trick Room here. Set up that second devastating Trick Room. One step closer here. The Iron Hand's coming in. We saw that it's slower than the Calyrex naturally, so it is going to be faster than the Calyrex in this Trick Room environment. But now you've got Amoonguss on the field to be able to put it to sleep. If the Iron Hands goes for an attack into the Calyrex, the Amoonguss puts it to sleep. It's not going to act whatsoever. If the Iron Hands goes for a fake out into the Amoonguss to stop that from happening, then the Calyrex could be putting on some Glacial Lances.
Emerging from its shell will be the Torkoal, setting the sun up on the field that did so much damage in that game 1. That's the fake out going into the Amoonguss. It's going to be enough to take it out, and a little bit of chip damage from the Rocky Helmet too, but this gives Ismael a free switch in back to something slower that's in the back, like that Calyrex Ice Rider.
This is so clever, not even taking the risk that the Calyrex, even though that it was going for its guaranteed turn of sleep, would be able to wake up. Now we're in that position that we saw before. Calyrex next to Torkoal in Trick Room for turn after turn after turn. This combination of Eruption and Glacial Lance is devastating.
And the options that you have available on that Calyrex Ice Rider, threatening both of Fabian's targets for really good damage here. Once again, could get snowballing. Ismael has approached this matchup expertly in game 2 here. That's Galarian Weezing re-hitting the field and switching off abilities so that this Calyrex Ice Rider doesn't get too carried away with its chilling Nay boosts.
It's going to be an attack here coming out from, or Protect here coming out from the Calyrex.
It goes for the Protect. That's huge in order to stall out some turns here. Another big Eruption though, connecting down onto the Galarian Weezing, and with that, that should be the abilities back online for the rest of this game too.
This is a really good option for Fabian to go for. He's managed to get the Calyrex woken up. That's going to keep it on the field this turn, most importantly, so that the Iron Hands can come in and offer some fake out support. Now, this Torkoal on Ismael's side does not carry Protect. It's carrying the Choice Specs, and so it's not going to be able to protect itself. We know that Smeargle's in the back. That means there's no Psychic Terrain to block the fake out whatsoever, and it might be that this Calyrex has found a way to weave in an attack, especially since it was Torkoal that was able to pick up the knockout on that Weezing and not the Calyrex.
That's right, it hasn't begun its snowballing journey quite yet, but it's time for the Torkoal to retire and Smeargle to hit the field with its Easel. And that's Calyrex going for the Protect here from the fake out, but where did Fabian target? It was into the Torkoal slot, which couldn't protect, as you said. Astral Barrage, Smeargle is going to be immune to that.
It's just seeing how good these normal type Pokemon can be when you're facing up against a Calyrex Shadow Rider, but now Ismael has really got to dish out some damage here because Trick Room is getting closer and closer to expiring.
Oh, and another Protect coming out from Calyrex, stalling things out here. Well, the Drain Punch comes into Smeargle, healing up a little bit on the Iron Hand. Super effective, of course. That Smeargle is down and out. It's now all down to Calyrex and the Torkoal.
But Calyrex and Torkoal do have what it takes to be able to try and knock out this Calyrex, but the Calyrex not even targeting it down, just going for that high horsepower.
And it brings the Iron Hands down to roughly a third of its HP, and that puts it in range of a KO from something like Glacial Lance.
Now, whether or not the Iron Hands is carrying the Assault Vest, and of course it is, even it's not known for being able to take those special attacks so well, so there is an opportunity here for Ismael to get an attack off.
Fabian really popping off there, predicting perhaps what Ismael was going for. Here comes a big Astral Barrage, connecting down into the Torkoal. No damage to the protecting Calyrex. It hangs on with 13
hit points.
HP, but did Torkoal go for Eruption, which is... No, it doesn't matter.
We're not in Trick Room anymore.
Into the Torkoal there. Torkoal is down. Ismael seems to be once more on this back hoof with that protected Calyrex there, heading into this next turn, staring down two very threatening opponents.
One Pokemon standing between Fabian and his EUIC title.
That's it. Your EUIC Junior Champion,